Liberal Senator Dave Sharma. Dave, thanks for your time. Now, this is quite an extraordinary accusation here. So what are the implications of this nepotism?
Well, I think the thing to know here, Sharri, is that this report that the government commissioned, they've been sitting on it for well over 2 years now, I think almost 2.5 years. And it's because the findings are quite damning, and I think it's because they wanted to rush through a large number of appointments to government agencies, diplomatic posts, government boards, without this set of rules around them. Now, they finally released the report. This is after the Senate voted to compel the release of the report from Finance Minister Katie Gallagher. They released it. They dropped it to the media initially with no adverse or third-party comment allowed, so they got a clear run of the story. Now it's come out to the public, and the government is not even going to accept all the recommendations in the report. I think it's an extraordinary evasion and a denial of transparency. I mean, the government commissioned this report. They said there was a huge problem with government appointments to boards, and now they're, firstly, they've hid the report for well over 2 years, and now they're saying they're not going to abide by it.
Unbelievable. Well, Finance Minister Katie Gallagher was asked why it took so long to release this report. Here she was.
Why did the government sit on this report for 2.5 years?
Because we were finalising the appointments framework, which has now been done, and this review was informing that.
Why did it take so long?
Because the work wasn't completed.
Well, what do you think about that response? The work wasn't completed.
I think the truth is that the report was inconvenient to the government, and the fact that they hadn't released it and they kept claiming it was cabinet in confidence meant that they could continue to appoint a number of their mates to, board positions, overseas posts, government agencies, departmental heads, without this report sort of calling into question their judgment or their ethics in doing so. I mean, it's manifestly not true that the government could not formulate a response to this report, or that it would take them 2.5 years to do so. That's just simply not plausible at all.
I want to turn to this national security issue about the definition of counterterrorism. Now, this has been building for a very long time, this push from some Islamic groups to change the definition of counterterrorism. It really has only hit the media recently, but, I reported some time ago that it was in the Islamophobia Envoy's report to government. And now as well, the Australian Muslim Advocacy Network has requested to remove religion as a motivation for terror acts. Here is the Special Envoy to Combat Islamophobia, Aftab Malik. Have a look.
A wider society sees and hears Muslims recite, God's name or Allahu Akbar and assume that to be religion. So from the Muslim community's perspective, it is not religious. These are actually fringe ideological movements. And from the wider society, they only interpret that to be religious.
Now, Dave, what's your view on this? Because extremism and, fundamentalist, extremist, Islamist is behind a lot of the terror attacks that we have seen. So, how can this work?
Well, I don't understand and I don't accept the reasoning of that special envoy at all. I mean, as it stands currently under the law, I think it's section 100.1 of the Criminal Code, an act of terrorism is one that does or threatens serious harm designed to intimidate the public or a section of the public or coerce a government, and done for a political, religious or ideological motive. Now, is the special envoy saying that if it's done for a religious motive, it is no longer an act of terrorism, but it has all the other elements? But if it's done for a political motive, it is? I mean, I think it just defies belief. I think we all know what an act of terrorism is when we see it. And we all know that if it's driven by a political, religious or ideological motive, not a criminal motive, not a personal motive, then it meets the definition of a terrorist test. I don't understand how you could... Is this designed to say, give people a pass that if they commit what we would all consider to be a terrorist act, but they say it was for religious purposes, then it's no longer considered to be a terrorist offence, it's just a criminal offence? I mean, I don't think anyone in the public or anyone in their right mind would accept that.
Do you think the Albanese government and the Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke will consider this?
Well, I don't think they've given a response to the special envoy to combat Islamophobia's report. I think a number of the recommendations that were made in that report were far-reaching, overreaching, really, and I would be alarmed if the government did take on board any of those recommendations. But that said, they appointed this person, they gave him a mandate, and they will need to find a way to respond to these recommendations. But as it is, I mean, that one in particular just doesn't pass the pub test.
And it's extraordinary that, it's been 4 or 5 months now since Gillian Siegel handed down her report into anti-Semitism and many recommendations there that federal government could act on, and still nothing has happened. We're about to have the end of the year. It's about to be Christmas.
No, Gillian Siegel made a very comprehensive report with a lot of recommendations, and I think that the government owes her the duty to respond substantively to those. But instead, we've had the Home Affairs Minister, Tony Burke, gaslighting any journalists who dare to ask him about it and suggest that they're somehow impugning Gillian Siegel's integrity. No, they're asking questions of the government about why they have not implemented her recommendations or what they are proposing to do in response to them.
Very disappointing, but not surprising at all with this government. Dave Sharma, thanks so much, and I hope the rest of Senate estimates goes well.
Thanks so much.